my skin so gorgeous. We thank the life gorgeous. Thank the life gorgeous. I love the life gorgeous. Its torso is so tight.
Welcome to the Life Gorgeous. It's Craigers. This is where I share my magical life in hopes of improving your life. Ladies and gentlemen, a very, very special podcast. We have some guests coming up. They are from the Timberwolves group chat. Scott Shapiro, Phil Mackey. They're coming up in mere moments. But first, a special announcement. This is maybe the most important podcast I've done. The Timberwolves brass are watching. We're going to talk about what the Wolves have to do this summer to make it not only back to the Western Conference Finals, but to win a championship. Tim Conley, he's Tequila Tim. He's invested in tequila company. He's watching. Chris Finch is watching. Alex Rodriguez, you know him as A-Rod. He's watching. Pablo Prigioni, taking time out from shooting around. He still thinks he can play in the 40 over league in Europe. He's practicing. He's going to take a break. Watch this. The only guy not watching is Micah Nori. He's on a boat somewhere. He thinks he's getting a head coaching job. Right now, let's get the experts in here. We're close. The Wolves are close. Sometimes it appears they turn the ball over. We now bring in Scott Shapiro, Fox Power Executive, Fox Sports Radio, Phil Mackey, the mastermind behind Purple Daily, Flagrant Howls, and they are on the Timberwolves group chat. We made the Western Conference Finals, gentlemen.
And it sounds like it's not good enough for you. You're thinking about is championship here 4 days. You can't just enjoy the moment for 5 seconds and reflect on a back-to-back trip to the conference finals.
I do want to say that I was influenced by Finchy when I saw some of his exit interview or his end of the season interview, where he said, when you have a chance to win the championship, you got to go for it. And I'm thinking, okay, we're not going to build a championship team kind of the way I want to with the draft and then a couple strategic trades. We're going to maybe have to do the Kevin Durant trade because these teams aren't going to win. I don't think a lot of these teams are going to win consecutive championships. I thought Boston was really good. They lost to the Warriors and they won. I thought Denver was pretty good. I don't know if they're going to win another one. So maybe I do admit that I'm probably overreacting. Phil, I texted you guys and I said, I'm now for the Kevin Durant trade. You said yes, but I have a caveat. What's your caveat?
My caveat is no Jaden McDaniels. So if you can get it done, and by the way, like if you go through, I love that we're jumping right into reckless speculation season here. Isn't it? There was a period for, I don't know, like 12 or 15 years where the only two things we were caring about and hoping for this time of year were, can they get the lottery balls to bounce in their favor? And is there someone in the draft that can save this garbage franchise from itself? And so the fact that we're now sitting here having legitimate discussions about Kevin Durant, be it 37-year-old version of him, and maybe even, because he's going to put the phone call in, Tim Connolly, maybe even some Giannis reckless speculation. I don't think that's going to happen because I think other teams have more assets, but if you can get a Kevin Durant deal done while keeping Jaden McDaniels, either having Naz Reid opt in for the $15 million player option or extending him, and using some combination of like Julius Randle and or Rudy Gobert and or like that 17th overall pick, and you keep that younger nucleus together, I think sign me up. I think that's where I'm at.
Scott, Jaden McDaniels, you want to keep him in the Kevin Durant trade?
So I love Kevin Durant. Any NBA team would want to have Kevin Durant, but he is not exactly on Ant's timeline. Ant is 23. Durant, as Phil said, will be 37 when the season starts. I would love to have him, but it's all about how much it will cost. Keep this in mind. Kevin Durant has not won a playoff game in a few years. The Wolves are largely responsible for that. Kevin Durant has not been past the second round of the playoffs since 2019. In NBA terms, that's a long time. Wolves fans, firsthand, we saw what old men do in the first and the second round of the playoffs this year. We saw LeBron. We saw what happened to an overweight Luka. He's got the body of a 62-year-old and I guess the maturity of an 11-year-old with the way he complains. But besides that point, we saw what happened to Steph. We saw Draymond. We saw Jimmy. Signing up for a 37-year-old in the playoffs these days, it is not bearing the fruit that you would want it to. So I'd love to have him. But if we have to give up Jaden, I have a problem with that. And if I'm the Suns, let's hope Ishbia is not listening. Suns fans, earmuffs. If you're the Suns, you're going to ask for Jaden. You're going to ask for Shannon. You're going to ask for that 17th pick, possibly the 31st pick, and more. There's going to be a bidding war for Durant. I would love him, but we cannot gut the franchise for a 37-year-old.
Okay, so that was my thinking a few months ago. I said, I don't want anything to do with Durant. He's old. The timeline with Ant is correct, but I'm saying if we can win a championship, I think if we win a championship, there'll be a huge exhale. I wanted to be good for like the next 6 years. I want to be good with Ant and have multiple shots at championships. Maybe that's unrealistic. Maybe you win one and then you just whatever. So I've changed my mind, and I'm going to preface it 10 times by saying that what I'm saying today might be inaccurate or out of frustration. But you guys have to remember, since I've been talking to you guys, I have said over and over and over again, I don't like turnovers, and I don't like guys that are not great offensive players. As far as I call them ball players, you call it a floor game. I don't like guys that can't pass. I don't like these the Stacey Augmon guys that are learning how to shoot jump shots. So Jaden is good. He worked on his ball handling. He's worked on his shooting. I'm currently a little frustrated with him because in that game at Oklahoma City, he missed 6 shots, and you can't do that. It's a domino effect. It's a snowball effect. You got to make a couple of those. It's so fragile that we get blown out, and man, did we get blown out. And the turnovers. Let me just pause for 1 second on Jaden and come back to him. Last year when we drafted these guys, Rob Dillingham and Shannon, I was fired up. I talked to Dane Moore and I said, okay, Naw's going to move down in the rotation now. And Dane was thrown off. I said, well, I want him to move down because I want these guys to be better than Naw. Proud of Naw. I'm okay with him leaving. He's not a point guard.
Yeah.
Streaky shooter, 0 for 8 in that closeout game. 0 for 8. So I guess my question is, and I think I heard Phil say it on, sometimes you do hoops, Timberwolves on Score North, and sometimes you do on Flagrant House, or all the time on Flagrant House. I think you asked the question, which I'm asking you guys, who's the only untradeable guy on the Wolves? Because I have my guy or guys. So go ahead, Scott.
There's one untradeable player on the Wolves and only one. He's 23 years old. He is our future. That's Anthony Edwards. Everybody else is tradable, in my opinion. The only question is, do you trade all of your chips for a 37-year-old? And that's where I'm thinking, that may not be the most prudent, but everybody should be available except for Ant.
Phil?
Ant's the only non-negotiable.
Right.
But in terms of and I'll chime in on your Jaden slander, and it was Jaden slander. It was very slanderous. Right,
I've got more for you on that. Go ahead.
I think there's only one player that is reportedly available that I would include Jaden McDaniels in a trade for, and it's Giannis.
Okay.
If I can get peak prime Giannis for a couple years, and it's Giannis, Anthony Edwards, and you'd have to give up a lot because you don't have the draft pick capital. So if again, I'm like, I don't think there's been any credible steam connecting the Bucks to the Timberwolves, but if you were to have that conversation, in lieu of the draft capital, you'd have to give up current young talent. And Jaden, It's kind of crazy because like 2 years ago, we were sitting here wringing our hands over that contract. Like, ooh, is Jaden a $25 million a year player in today's NBA? It's great when he's on that discounted contract, late first round pick. And now you look, there's 4 years left on the deal. I think it's an average of maybe $26, $27 million a year as the cap keeps going up. And I think once, like if Randall moves on, there was a 6 or 7 week stretch in the middle of the spring, late winter, early spring, where Jaden was empowered to come out of the corner and be more of a focal point on offense. And you got to see like the car coming out of the garage for the first time, the mid-range game, getting to the basket. And he averaged 18 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists on 52% from the field when he was made to run more actions and to just get to his mid-range. So I think there's a world where if you keep Jaden and you give him more of an offensive presence, I think there's another level there. I call him Diet Kawhi Leonard. I think that's in there where he could score 18 to 20 points efficiently for this team, kind of as like the third guy behind Ant, fill in the blank, and then Jaden McDaniels.
Well, I am proud of him and pleased with when he drives and he has that soft 10-foot pull-up. I'm always like, wow, it's kind of automatic for him. But I looked at Kevin Durant and I look at his stats, and he's usually when you get older, your field goal percentage goes down, and he's at 52% this year, which was better than last year. He does turn the ball over more than I realized. I looked at his turnovers per game for his career. But here's my Jaden thing. And I do obviously like him, but I'm willing to trade him at this point just to try to win a championship. It's a risk. It's a risk. I also don't think the package for Durant is what people think it's going to be. It's not going to be crazy. Giannis would have to really just give him a whole bunch of players. I don't know if they'd want that with the draft pick. So here's my question. I don't know how good TJ Shannon is, because when he came into the league, I'm like, he might be one-dimensional. I still don't know if he can pass. I know he works on defense, but I'm going to ask you guys a question. Who's going to have a better pro career, Jaden McDaniels or TJ Shannon?
That's slander. Yep. That's incredibly slanderous. You can't even ask that question.
Why not?
Listen, TJ showed a lot of flashes. He should have been a higher pick. I love his potential, but Jaden's ceiling is significantly higher. And frankly, Jaden should be the better pro, no question.
Okay. So it was apparently, we don't use the word dumb, but that was a dumb question. Is that what I'm hearing?
No,
Phil, was that a dumb question? You ask those questions on Flagrant Howls all the time.
These are just speculative conversations among frustrated Wolves fan friends here. I think like with Jaden, they continue to try, and this happened. He's got to knock out. He's got to hit those shots. Like the people saying that the Wolves' effort wasn't there, and that if he knocks down 3 of those wide open corner threes and they're in it and it's close, like the game is probably different going forward.
Correct.
So deflating when he clanks those shots. But you know what? He shouldn't be standing in the corner clanking 3. Like he's got to improve on it, but that's not his game. They put him in the corner like he's Naz Reid or this sniper 3-point shooter. And he is a mid-range artiste who can finish at the rim at a better rate than any current Timberwolf, who can kind of hit threes sometimes. Right. And sometimes they use him in the opposite order of those facts.
The other point I wanted to say, which is an overall kind of scheme, we know how great Jaden is on defense. Although as great as he is, Luka and SGA will still score on him at will, even though he's there all the time. And it's hard for what he does. He has to fight through picks, and he's a special defender, but they still score. Offense beats defense, which is kind of my point here. Is I'm willing to go down a little bit on team defense. I still want to be in the top 10 if possible and improve our offense. So I'll give you an example. I don't know what Tim Connolly's going to do. I doubt he trades Rudy. But if you have a defender, like a guy like Clint Capella, not now, but the Houston version, and not Steven Adams right now, but if you get a big in there, Hartenstein type, who's better on offense than Rudy, so your offense improves and your defense is still pretty good, and I'll just be I'll just say play zone sometimes, which they do. I want better offense and I want less turnovers. So you could tell that Kilby's frustrated. I mean, the first thing I did was I just said, I called Conley. I said, just get Tyus Jones in the building. He doesn't even have to play.
So we're both occupying Tyus Jones Island here. I'm with you. I don't think saying goodbye to Nikhil, bringing Conley off the bench and adding Tyus Jones makes you a championship team. But he's an organizer of offense, doesn't turn the ball over. Right. One of the Kilbyisms, right? Yes. He can knock down open threes, which Mike Conley was still doing at the end of his run this year.
Yeah. I did watch guys. I go, God, what if we had TJ McConnell? And I looked up his stats, and they're nearly identical to Tyus Jones. They both average 7 career. The difference is Tyus averages less turnovers, obviously. That's who he is. TJ McConnell shoots over 50% from the floor.
Yeah.
I think Tyus has I think Tyus is 37 on threes and 34 for TJ. But anyways, that's not going to win us a championship. That's just a steadying thing. And he would be inexpensive if he took the minimum to play in Phoenix. So you don't think Rudy will get traded, obviously, right? I'm just covering all our bases. Scott, your eyes are raising up. I'm not slanderous now, am I?
No, there's a possibility of it. And listen, we have no idea what's up Tim's sleeve, but we never have before. And he shocked the world. He shocked us with the Rudy trade. He shocked us 2 nights before training camp this year. I think with Rudy, especially with a reasonable extension that's going to kick in, he's tradable. I think there might be a team like the Timberwolves were 3 years ago, looking to take that next step, looking to get past the first round. We've gotten a lot out of him. He really played a huge role in getting us to the conference finals in back-to-back years, but he's aging. He's on a semi-reasonable contract. There might be a team who thinks we need a defensive anchor to get us through. And I think if we can add offense, if we can get a Rudy Light who's better offensively, who might be 70% of him defensively and can rebound like him at this point, we got to think about doing it to give us flexibility and to give us a shot in the half-court offense.
And I actually love Rudy. I'm okay with his limited offense, because he changes the entire team defense. And it's weird because it's the matchups with the different teams. And he wasn't doing a whole lot in the Lakers series until the closeout game where he could play his best playoff game ever. So let's go to Rob Dillingham. People know I like him, but I also know he's not going to be the kind of point guard I want. He's going to be turnover prone and streaky. And at the beginning, when Finchie talked about the beginning of the year, he said he floats on his shot. Now he says, he moves around something. He lands in different spots. He's just not fundamentally sound on his jump shot. So what I'm saying is, if we do make a trade, I'm okay getting rid of Rob now. I'm okay getting rid of Noah and Rob. I want to keep TJ Shannon because he is a bull. There's something special. And again, we may do this in a year, and I say, okay, we can now trade TJ Shannon.
Look at you, just bailing on these guys. Just such a short leash for me.
But let me ask you, if the goal is to, win the championship, and again, OKC is, I guess, apparently a bad matchup. I thought it was a good matchup in the regular season. But what changes, Scott, do you make in the offseason here? You're not just standing pat, are you?
Everything is on the table except for trading at. There is nobody that is untouchable. And honestly, let's let Tim cook. He has proven that he knows what he's doing. When you look back through the Nuggets and the Wolves, he's had a team in the conference finals or the finals going back a number of years. He had 2 teams battling it out last year through 7 games. Tim has a lot of knowledge that we have no idea about. I think he's going to be a player for every big free agent and every key tradable piece this offseason. And frankly, he's looking at it through one veil, winning a championship. He's been to the conference finals back-to-back years. I think he is playing chess while everybody else is trying to figure out who's available. There's a lot that we don't know. And Tim has a lot up his sleeve, and I trust him. And there is so much that he is able to do, and we don't have a clue at this point.
When I said he's watching, he has turned it off because he's saying, they just told me to watch me cook. And I thought they were going to give me some nuggets here. Mm-hmm. I heard Phil say Derek White the other day, the guy from Boston. I love Derek White. I mean, here's one. Brian Windhorst. This was pretty special. Tell me, I don't know if it applies to the Wolves. He said, hey, there weren't the 2 teams that are doing well. They weren't blockbuster trades. It was OKC getting
Caruso,
Alex Caruso. Of course, he didn't realize free agent Hartenstein. That's huge.
Yeah.
And then the other trade was Drew Holiday with Boston the year before. That helped them win a championship. And that was one of those things where they included Drew and then they bought him out and he was free to sign anywhere. which in a trade now, if Giannis is traded somewhere, there might be a guy involved there who says, I want to go play, I hope, with Ant. Maybe there's a great player the way Drew Holiday went to Boston. But I'm just thinking of other trades. Why did you say Derek White?
Organizer of offense, defensive bulldog,
Right.
championship pedigree,
Great three-point shooter.
knocks down threes at a high volume,
Doesn't turn it
at
over,
a high
I don't
efficiency
think.
rate,
Yeah.
doesn't really turn over. Olympic team chemistry with Anthony Edwards, unless they hate each other. I don't know. Maybe they sat far apart on the buses. Just kind of all those things. But I'm going to turn what you just said into a question back to you guys, because I love that thought experiment of, are the Wolves a moderate lever pull move away from winning a championship? Like OKC went from not even getting to the conference finals to bing bang, Alex Caruso, Isaiah Hartenstein might win a title now. It wasn't a Giannis acquisition.
Correct.
It wasn't bringing Kevin Durant back for one last hurrah in Oklahoma City. It was role player here, big man over here, boom, boom, different team. One of the great regular seasons in NBA history. The Drew Holiday move. They already had their superstars in place. They had their one, they had their two. The only problem with the Wolves is I don't think they have their championship level secondary scorer.
Right.
And I think that player has to be more of a perimeter player unless it's Giannis.
Right. So I'm proud of Julius Randle. He played better than I thought in the first two series, Lakers Warriors.
Yes.
I was like, oh my gosh, this is wonderful. Obviously, OKC knows how to double team on his blind side when he starts to back down. But yeah, I'm okay. I'm frustrated with Nas. I'm frustrated with Julius Randle a little bit. So I'm like Scott, where everything's on the table. I just wanted to hear names because I looked up the free agents and nothing was really jumping out. So it might have to be a trade. The good news, in my opinion, we have a deep roster, so we can trade different people. And so I'm just curious to see what we do. Do you know what I'm saying?
And I love the idea of Winston Garland's son, Darius. He would do so much for us. And obviously the Cavs, like the Celtics, are going to be in a tough cap state where they may have to look to trade a key player. But Connolly's going to take a swing. And here's why. We're close, but close is not good enough. And when you look at the West, it's only going to get stronger. OKC is going to keep getting better and better. All right. This is the worst they will be in a number of years. The Spurs are going to be a major force. Okay. The Rockets, with all of their assets and good young players, they're going to be a force. So I think Connolly looks at it. The window isn't long for us to have a shot where we think it's open. He needs that second best player. He needs it now. And I love the idea of it being a floor general, because we needed that to get through that OKC defense. If we have a ball handler who can be a threat to score, to spread the D like a Garland, I love the idea of Derek White. And by the way, 3 for 3 with Tyus Jones. Now, he's not the long-term point guard superstar, right, but we need somebody who can handle the ball, get through traffic, and take a little of the burden off Ant. So I love a Garland type if we're able to maneuver that.
Father's Day is a special day for all of us, especially those of us who were close with their dad like me. Sure, it's fun to go to a steakhouse with your father, but it's more fun to cook steaks at home on the grill with your dad. There are no distractions, a little more one-on-one time, sitting in the backyard, talking sports, talking movies, talking music, and cooking Omaha Steaks. Pretty special. Dad and I obviously like the fillets, but the burgers might have been our favorites. Not sure. You know, when it comes to Father's Day, some things never change. Dads want steak. A recent survey shows 75% of Americans agree there's no better way to spend Father's Day than grilling with the family. That's a survey, young people. I just got another order of Omaha Steaks, including the new smash burgers, and they also have salmon, surf and turf for Kilby. Nothing better. Nothing better. I've said it before. I'm going to say it again. Cooking Omaha Steaks as a child is when the life gorgeous started for me. That's when I began thinking about it. Grilling Omaha Steaks with my dad. Omaha Steaks has been America's original butcher since 1917, a family-owned company with over 100 years of expertise in the meat industry. Every steak is perfectly aged to maximize tenderness and hand-cut by master butchers. This Father's Day, give Dad the world's best steak experience with Omaha Steaks. Visit omahasteaks.com for guaranteed perfect gifts that deliver legendary quality. And for an extra $35 off, use promo code GORGEOUS at checkout. That's omahasteaks.com and an extra $35 off with promo code GORGEOUS at checkout. See site for details. Who do you want, Phil? Derek White or Darius Garland?
I'm glad Scott brought up Darius Garland, because some of this is all like, fantasy basketball trades right now, unless our guy Tim Connolly is taking active notes here, which would be advisable during this episode, because you got to think about, it can't just be, well, what do the Timberwolves want and need, and well, here's Dillingham and a pick, and then you get whatever you want, right? Like, there's salary cap ramifications. There's what's the willingness of the other team to make a trade? Well, back to Derek White for a second. The Celtics make a lot of sense because they are $20 million over the second apron going into this summer, facing the repeater tax penalties, and their best player is going to be out probably for the entire season. So it makes sense for the Celtics to take one of their big contracts of more than $20 million, which Derek White is, move it off the books in some fashion, take a deep breath. I'm not saying they missed the playoffs, but like this could be their 1997 San Antonio Spurs reset where, well, David Robinson's out. Let's just be bad for a minute, get lucky in the lottery. Tim Duncan comes on board, dynasty, right? So Celtics are looking to probably shake things up this offseason. Cavs are also, to Scott's point, $5 million over the second apron. And they've been one of the best regular season teams in the league for 3 years without even a trip to the Eastern Conference Finals to show for it. So there's some frustration. They're looking to maybe shake things up for just winning reasons in the postseason. So you could probably take advantage of circumstances with a couple of these Eastern Conference teams for sure.
Very proud of the Wolves this year, by the way. I just thought they were special. I didn't know that OKC was that good until the series happened. There were people, how they had everyone pick the Lakers to beat the Wolves, all the ESPN, the 12 people. It was kind of split with OKC and Minnesota. A lot of people had Minnesota winning this series prior because of how well the Wolves were playing. So anyways, we'll see how it unfolds. I have some fun material now concerning Phil's kryptonite, which is Karl-Anthony Towns. And I think it's a win-win for both Phil and I, where Phil is excited because people are trashing him, Cat, and I feel good because a lot of people are like, oh my God, Cat is unbelievable and he's third team all NBA. The voice of reason, Scott, what kind of year did Cat have?
He had a good year. And I think that the stuff about his defensive techniques and logistics, I think it's somewhat overblown, but that's real. He's never been a great defensive player. His lateral
except against the Joker, the best player in the
world.
world. Okay.
Game 6 and 7 of that series, we would not have won without him. Here's the thing. I had a hard time with this trade. I'm happy with it now. I am. I don't think we would have beat the Thunder with Cat. I think we would have had a better shot. I think we would have been the 2 seed in the West this year. Okay. I think we would have been a legit finals contender all season long, but we would have lost to the Thunder. And given what's ahead, allowing Tim to have the financial flexibility to explore, we're going to end up on the better end of this. I really believe that with his defensive deficiencies, with his salary, we're in better shape right now. But he's still a tremendous player. He's a great offensive player. If I'm the Knicks, I build and try. The East is wide open, far more open than the West is. But I like where we're at now. I'm willing to accept that I was wrong on the trade, even though we would have been far better this year.
Phil Mackey, I've got a lot of material here. I'm ready to run it by you, but go ahead.
I mean, it's been fascinating watching the reaction from the New York media, by the way, which after he poured in 20 points in the fourth quarter of whatever game that was.
It was called Rally Cat. That was on the New York Post. Rally Cat.
And then a couple memes later, and the fouling, and I think he only blocked one shot in the conference finals in 6 games, and he's the only player of 7 feet or taller
I saw
to
that.
play that many minutes and only block one shot in a conference finals. And now everyone with a microphone or a pen is turning on him. But
Not everyone. There are people defending him also.
That's true. That's
There's
true.
a guy for the New York Post, whatever his name is, Bondi or whatever his name is. He said
That guy. is
yeah,
defending.
there are different guys saying things about Cat, that he was highest plus minus on the team against the Pacers. Third team, I'm saying he played better than I thought he would this year because they didn't use him the right way, and he's third team All NBA. Bill Simmons had him the other day, put him in the top 15 in the league, which is third team All NBA for top 15. But here's my thing. He's polarizing, which I admit. And now here comes my fun. I believe that certain people, including my friend Phil, who I protect, overreact to him because he's so frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
Defensively, Steph Curry is not a good defender, either is Jalen Brunson, but Cat's held to a higher standard, maybe because during interviews he does different voices.
Well, he
He's
does
eccentric. I don't think the guys that dislike Cat probably hate David Bowie because he's wearing a dress. So Cat's a weird guy. You heard what Charles Barkley said the other day. You got the best feet in the NBA. He was wearing sandals. But I think this is where my fun thing is. I think we can see who's really an angry person this is my joke here. I'm contacting the APA, which is the American Psychiatric Association, not a CAT scan, but a CAT eye exam, a new test to see who's got some anger management issues. You show video of Cat playing, good and bad. And they go, and the response should be, for a healthy person, well, oh God, he's talented. Oops, he has some flaws. And the other people see it, they go, I hate this guy. I want to kick the dog.
That's me. I would never kick Miss Maya, our Chihuahua Terrier.
He really gets under the skin of not just Phil, but I mean, I've seen these other guys just rip him a new asshole.
Yeah, I think he's a little bit of a fraudulent personality, which is just following him for like 9 or 10 years. Sometimes I think just to get like philosophical. Sometimes I think he's had some tragedy in his life that's been well documented. I don't know if he knows who he is as a person sometimes. And so that's why his voice changes from here and there. But from a basketball perspective, I hate the amount of fouls he commits. No player in the NBA has committed more fouls on a per game basis than Karl for the last 5 years. So he'll just disappear for 10 minutes of a key game because he can't keep his hands off of a ball handler in a spot where it makes no sense to commit a foul. And then the other question I throw back on you, Curry and Brunson don't play defense. But if you had to line those 3 guys up and say, all right, in their prime, at their peak, you get to draft each one of those 3 for a playoff run. Are you picking Cat over either one of those guys? Going into the playoffs, prime Brunson, prime Steph, prime Karl-Anthony Towns. And you're going to lead your team into the bracket.
No, because those guys are more consistent offensively than Cat is.
Yep.
Cat is mercurial. I admit that. I don't know why. For some reason, I like Ricky Rubio. And I like guys that shoot a high field goal percentage. And he was under 40%. But there was something about Ricky that I liked. And I'm a little, and let me say something else about Cat. I'm going to also criticize or say something that you'll like. He played better than I thought he would this year. And he had 2 playoff games, 2 fourth quarters that I said, I didn't know he was capable of that. The one at Detroit where he hit the 2 threes and he hit a fadeaway jump shot on the right baseline. And he doesn't turn that way and shoot jump shots. He never has. Mm-hmm. He does it on the left side where he steps away. He hit one. And this guy said, put that in every museum in New York City, that fadeaway jump shot over the backboard. And then the comeback game, the rally Cat, and I'll make sure I'll send you guys those. I'll frame that thing, the New York Post. The rally Cat where he scored 20 and he has those dunks where I love when he dunks because he barely jumps and he pulls the rim down and it's a power outage. It's a Statue of Liberty. So there's something about him because of his talent that I like. So I said I like the trade. Then I said I love the trade after I saw Julius Randle. I'm going to this step. I am now officially relieved that I don't have to go through the roller coaster of Cat on the Timberwolves.
Yeah.
So I'll say that. But I do think people overreact whether they want Dante DiVincenzo benched or I could say, I know the answer to this. Who do you hate more, Kirk Cousins or Karl-Anthony Towns? I know the answer to that, by the way.
Listen, Kirk's going to come back as QB2 in about the second week of training camp when the Vikings are pissed at Sam Howell for sailing passes.
You dislike Cat more than Kirk because Kirk's just a religious guy who he has a big contract and doesn't always come through in the clutch. He doesn't change his voice and do weird things. If he would have gone under center to the guard more times than he did that one time, then you would have been really irritated.
I think he did it in a playoff game one time. Pretty sure.
I can't remember if it was I don't think it was the San Francisco game. Someone said it wasn't, but he did. Kirk is, by the way, today on Purple Daily, I believe, did some guy badmouth JJ McCarthy?
The legendary Ross Tucker made his debut on Purple Daily. And it's funny, sometimes you don't know how the audience is going to react to something. And so he came on for 30 minutes and we yucked it up. He told a bunch of great stories and we ran him through a couple of our fun, like show related questions that we ran Kilby through a couple weeks ago too. And within that, one of his takes was that he thinks the Lions and the Packers are the two best teams in the division. And that pissed off a lot of fans, which I mean, you could debate that until we see what JJ McCarthy looks like.
Right.
But then the other one was, he didn't think the Vikings were sold on McCarthy because they tried to pay Daniel Jones like $15 million. They tried to bring back Darnold. I think they did the same thing with Darnold that they did with Kirk, which is we don't want to burn the bridge because we appreciate the service time. It was a great season, but let's lowball them a contract offer that they're never going to say yes to. Then they can reject us and we can move on amicably. But I don't know, listeners were not happy with those assessments.
So Scott, I was on the Purple Daily, which was an honor, and they asked me, they wanted a hot take and a write this down thing, and I said something, and I was, having a little fun, going, I don't know how responsible it was, but I do want to run it by you, and then run the other idea by Phil. I said because everyone's fired up about JJ McCarthy, hoping he has the it factor. So I just said he's going to have a better career than John Elway, which is strong. You don't know if John's in the top 10 or top 15. And that means he's going to win at least one Super Bowl, even though a guy like Marino, who's a stud, didn't win any. Now that's a little too strong, do you think, Scott? Because I know who I think I should have said, but go ahead. Is that too strong?
It's sizzling. It's hard for me to even respond to that. Think about them coming out of college. And I understand that JJ, when he last played, was a national champion. But you look at the prospect that Elway was. I mean, he maneuvered himself to a different team as the first pick. He had so much potential as a passer downfield.
Right.
Elway is one of the best Hall of Famers there is, back-to-back Super Bowl champion. If JJ is half as good as Elway, with KOC, then I think we have something here, but that is pressure that he can never live up to, in my opinion.
So because I listen to this guy, Thor, who thinks he's can't miss, but I'm trying to say, if you guys are saying he's this good, how good is he going to be then? If people are saying this, so it would have been safer to say this and tell me, what do you think of this, Phil? JJ McCarthy will be a better pro than Troy Aikman.
I feel like it's so, wow, dude, you're throwing fastball takes today. You want Jaden McDaniels out, TJ Shannon, better career than Jaden McDaniels. I love feisty Kilby.
I want Ricky Rubio back on the roster by
not
September.
Prime Ricky Rubio, current retired Ricky Who did you just say? You said Troy Aikman. It's kind of crazy because it's not that long ago. It's all like well within our lifetimes that Troy Aikman was, quarterbacking this dynasty Cowboys team. But I feel like football in that era is incomparable to football in 2025. He's getting his brain scrambled on every third drop back because, the rules did not favor quarterbacks as much as they do right now. So like you can look at Troy Aikman's stats. And I do this, by the way, with like Terry Bradshaw and Joe Namath. Look at these guys. Joe Namath threw like 60 more interceptions than touchdowns in his career. Yeah, because guys like Deacon Jones are literally slapping his head as they rush the passer. But if it's era to era, Troy Aikman was never considered the best quarterback, like regular season numbers quarterback of his era. But he was excellent at guiding an incredible infrastructure and ship, right? He had the running game, offensive line, weapons, coaching, everything, and he navigated it really well. Whereas Dan Marino was sometimes carrying these subpar rosters and bad defenses. So, like he probably profiles more as an Aikman, where he's not going to be asked to throw for 5,000 yards early on. But because the fact that we just did 10 minutes on John Elway, Troy Aikman comparisons to J.J. McCarthy is
okay. Now Tim Conley's back.
Here.
Tim Conley's back listening. He finds this fascinating. But no, what I'm saying is, if you guys are going to say J.J. McCarthy is the franchise quarterback, I just want to know how good you think he's going to be. So I'm saying,
put a name. I'm want thinking, us to give you a name.
How about this? Let's cross off all Hall of Famers. Let's do that. Let's give the guy a chance. Let's throw out a Matt Hasselbeck. He played in a Super Bowl, long career as a starter, but let's give him something that he can achieve and perhaps exceed. But let's he hasn't played it down yet, and we're throwing out decorated Hall of Famers with multiple Super Bowls in both of their cases. Let's get a steady veteran quarterback who's been a Pro Bowler, somebody like a Hasselbeck, and let's just start there, because a quarterback like that plus KOC, that's a winning combination.
He's going to be better than Bob Greasy.
Bob Greasy.
What about Brian?
Yes, better than Brian Greasy. All right, fellas, that was fun.
Can I can I give you one Wolves trade scenario, since
yes,
you brought up
that's what I wanted. I want to hear names.
Like
yes.
I'm just, because all these names have kind of been floated, but you asked the Gobert question, and I agree with Scott, which is that, hey, unless you're Anthony Edwards, they should evaluate everything. And I believe it's credit to Tim Garrison from Canis Hoopus, the legendary Timberwolves blog platform. And I don't know, man, he must have stayed up all night with the trade machine. He concocted a 4-team trade. So I'll give you the Timberwolves in and out first, and then the peripheral pieces. And you tell me, A, is this realistic? And B, would you do it if you were the Timberwolves? So Timberwolves get Kevin Durant from Phoenix. And then as kind of a salary matching throw in here, Maxi Kleber, 32-year-old, just 6'11" body coming off the bench from the Lakers.
Oh, the guy from
Game
shots
5 in a row. He'll never miss 6 shots in a row. Okay.
He just comes in cold. Has never met his teammates. He's playing an elimination game. So the Wolves give up Julius Randle to Miami, where there's been some buzz the last couple years. Rudy Gobert to the Lakers, because they need a rim protecting big who can catch alley-oops from Luka Doncic in the dunker spot,
You said catch them? Go on.
Rattle them between his ping pong paddle hands and hope that the ball goes in. Josh Minott as kind of a throw-in, and then the 17th overall pick. And then the other pieces would be Austin Reeves, Duncan Robinson, Rui Hachimura to Phoenix. Lakers would send a couple dudes to the Heat. And then Andrew Wiggins winds up in LA. But Durant and like a big body in Kleber for Julius Randle, Rudy Gobert, Josh Minott, 17th overall pick. You keep Jaden, and you keep Naz Reid.
So that seems like a lot. Rudy and Julius Randle seem like a lot for Kevin Durant. And that's my initial reaction, because I still think Rudy's kind of special. I don't know.
You'd also have the $14 million mid-level exception to go get, pick a big man, Clint Capella, 30 years old. These aren't like wildly impressive names. You know who's a free agent that's 37 years old as well? But if you did trade Rudy Gobert, Brook Lopez.
Oh,
yeah. And he's going to have a market even at his age. I think on the surface of the trade, it depends what else we do, but it's too much to give up. And that's what concerns me. Now, we're not giving up any of our young talent. So Shannon's still on the team. Yes, we have the ability to sign Naz and perhaps even not as well, perhaps. But yeah, on the surface to give up both of them, that's essentially our second and third best player to get a 37-year-old. I worry. I would give up everything for Giannis. I agree. Literally everything except for number 5. But that's a lot to give up for a 37-year-old.
Brook Lopez, I think, is mentally tough because he survived getting dunked on by Jarrett Culver. So that was impressive.
Wow.
Do you guys remember that or not?
I don't.
Oh. Jarrett Culver dunked on him in Milwaukee and then taunted him because that's who I am. And then Lopez came right after him. They had to be separated.
That's who I am.
Yeah.
That's right. Jarrett Culver, everybody.
That was fun. That was fun. I think what you can sense is I'm grateful we get back to the Western Conference Finals, but everyone's whining about the championship, that we don't win a championship because we're close. I think we'd play. I mean, I could be way off. I thought we'd do very well if we played either the Pacers or the Knicks. But what do I know?
If
I don't
the
know
Pacers, because the Pacers play this crazy up and down pace, living up to their namesake.
Right.
They play 5 out a lot. All 5 guys in the starting lineup can shoot a 3. They give Halliburton as much space as possible to operate, make plays, create opportunities for. If that style, which is very much leaning into score, figure out defense however you can, if that style gives Oklahoma City a bunch of challenges, or they beat Oklahoma City, to what extent does it alter your opinion on what the Wolves should do around Anthony Edwards?
Well,
he has no space to operate on offense right now.
Yeah. I heard Finchie say in his interview at the end, we may have to change some things on offense. I heard him say that. I do. I mean, I said this a long time ago. Finchie said last year, the year before, we're not going to have a guy with 14 assists. And I'm like, I like that. Chris Paul, Ricky Rubio, John Stockton, because they don't turn it over. When they turn it over, I'm okay with it. When Nas does something weird and it just drives me up the wall. So everything's on the table.
Right. And we saw that happen last year. We got destroyed in the Western Conference Finals by a team who got destroyed in the finals, and we shook everything up. So who knows? But OKC is far better. 68 win 1 seed.
That Dallas series was bizarre. I knew we weren't ready because we weren't supposed to win Game 7 at Denver. So we exhaled and we weren't ready. But we were leading the first 3 games in the fourth quarter. So we were playing pretty well. We just, it's
for
like,
sure. Can I say one thing?
we're getting spanked. We're getting spanked in these games,
Of course. Anthony Edwards, he is getting ripped apart by many in the national media after getting to the conference finals in back-to-back years as a 23-year-old. It's almost as if we flamed out the Lakers in round 1, he wouldn't be getting critiqued. He wouldn't be getting criticized. But you know what? He has the mental wherewithal to take all that criticism and have that fuel to get better. But it's fascinating that the further you get as you're trying to be the king of the hill, the more exposure you get, the deeper into the playoffs, you get ripped apart. That's not for everybody, but bring it on for Ants. We'll take the criticism. It's nice to be noticed.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Thanks for squeezing your busy schedules. We're recording on a Monday. I'll take the OKC Thunder in, I'll say 5, but I don't know. Do you have a prediction?
4 or 5. Yeah, I would be. It's what a run for Indiana, but it feels like everything Indiana can do, Oklahoma City can match and then one up with size and defense and depth and everything. So
I wouldn't be surprised though. Indiana, they play this sometimes this desperation ball at the end, and Obi Toppin gets hot, and then TJ
it's the
McConnell.
Same thing that they did to the Wolves. It's like
I know
you watch those games, and after watching those 2 games, I thought to myself, I could 100% see the Pacers getting to the Eastern Conference Finals. I didn't think they could get all the way to the finals, but
That's our show. I want to thank Scott Shapiro, Phil Mackey. We'll see you next time. And remember, young people, I'm proud of you. That was fun. You could